I cut out carbs a few months ago, and it was the best decision I've ever made for building muscle. I'm now bigger, leaner, and healthier, all while mainstream fitness advice keeps telling you that you need carbs to build muscle. But that's just plain wrong. In this video, I'm going to break down the science that shows why you'll actually build more muscle if you don't eat carbs. The first reason that you'll build more muscle without carbs is because carbs are not the best source of energy for your body. It is often said that they are, but that's not the case. The thing is, when you eat carbs, your blood glucose or blood sugar levels really go up really fast. They spike, and that's what provides the energy to your body. That's why a lot of the times fitness influencers and stuff say that, carbs provide readily available, fast digesting energy. And to some extent, that's true. But the other half of the equation is that once your blood sugar spikes really quick, it also comes down really fast as well. And when your blood sugar comes down to baseline or even below, that's when you start to feel really hungry and you feel lethargic. So this spike and then crash of your blood glucose levels happens pretty fast. That can all happen within a 2 to 4 hour little stint. So you'll eat, you'll feel really energetic, and then it'll crash again, and you'll feel like you have no energy. And if you really think about it from a workout perspective, it's like, yeah, you might eat 2 hours before your workout, and you work out for an hour. So by the end of that workout, your energy levels are really just tanking. You're in the dip part of the sort of glucose spike and crash cycle. And overall, just this yo-yoing cycle of blood glucose levels, really energy levels, is just not efficient. And when you're using an inefficient source of energy, like glucose, like carbohydrates, you're not gonna is it any surprise that your workouts and your overall energy levels aren't going to be as great? Obviously not. On the contrary, when you stop eating carbs, your body will become what's called fat adapted. What that means is your body will be able to tap into your fat stores for energy. You're actually not able to do this while you're eating a bunch of carbs, because when you're eating a lot of carbs, you're what's called insulin resistant. And when you're insulin resistant, you can't actually tap into the fat stores on your body to use for any kind of energy. You need to be fat adapted to be able to do that properly. So when you're not eating carbs and you're eating healthy fats, your body starts fueling itself off dietary fat and then the fat reserves on your body, which are a much more stable source of energy. And when you use that stable source of energy, again, it's not really a surprise that your energy levels will be higher. You'll feel more energized throughout your workouts. You'll feel stronger in your workouts as a result, because you just have more energy. You have more sort of power in you to be able to lift weights, be able to go past what used to be failure for you. So to summarize this first point, when you eat a bunch of carbs, you're going through an inefficient energy cycle, which is kind of yo-yoing. You eat carbs, your glucose spikes, then it crashes. You eat again, it spikes, and then it crashes. Again, that is very inefficient. But on the contrary, when you eat fat, you fuel your body through those dietary fats and the fat on your body, which provides a very stable source of energy. And that stable source of energy is way more efficient, and that's what allows you to become stronger in the gym and, as a result, build more muscle. Now on to point number 2, which is that eating carbs leads to a great deal of inflammation in the body. The reason this happens is also closely related to the phenomenon of the yo-yoing blood glucose levels I talked about in point number 1. You see, the thing is, when you eat glucose and your blood glucose levels rise, the pancreas needs to release a hormone called insulin to curb that blood sugar spike. Your body does everything basically to get that glucose out of the blood, and insulin is what it sort of produces to do that. This insulin spike is pretty inflammatory because insulin is a pretty sensitive hormone. It's supposed to be at a very particular level and not really go too far above that. But when you eat carbs and your blood sugar raises, your insulin levels are forced to go above that to try and get that blood glucose out of the blood. And doing this long term, repeating the cycle again and again, is what leads to what I mentioned earlier, insulin resistance. Insulin resistance is basically the phenomenon where your pancreas and your body needs to keep producing more and more insulin to be able to curb those repeated glucose spikes that you're giving it. Eventually, it's just not able to do so, and like the term suggests, your body just really builds a resistance to insulin and is just not able to keep up anymore. Insulin resistance is an incredibly inflammatory phenomenon, and it leads to all kinds of health issues. So many health issues we have in the common day are basically related to insulin resistance. Diabetes basically is insulin resistance, right? It's the inability to get the sugar out of the blood glucose out of the blood. But there's so many other maladies we have these days that are so common: heart disease, PCOS in women, even Alzheimer's, a bunch of other things that are related to insulin resistance. So insulin resistance is incredibly inflammatory, and it causes all these health effects. You might be asking, okay, but what does that have to do with muscle growth? Well, think of it, right? If the insulin resistance and the inflammation related to insulin resistance is going to cause all of these other health issues, it goes kind of without saying that obviously your body's not not going to be in the most healthiest of conditions when it's insulin resistance, and this inflammation and this insulin resistance will 100% affect your muscle growth negatively. It's intuitive to think that what is healthy for us is ultimately going to also help us build more muscle and build a good, lean, healthy physique, right? So if you're insulin resistant and your body is inflamed, your body's not concerned right now about putting on muscle so you can like look good and feel good. It's really just concerned about like, oh my god, everything in my body is going haywire. I'm just in survival mode right now. I'm in like fight or flight mode right now. Your body is not focused on building good muscle when you're eating carbs and you're inflamed. I can say from experience that the few times I have slipped up and started eating a few more carbs, I feel that inflammation straight away, and it affects my muscle growth and it affects my performance in the gym as well. If I have 2 or 3 days where I slipped off my kind of very low carb or no carb diet, and I go to the gym and I'm not able to lift as much. I feel way more tired after each set. Each set hits me way harder. I don't feel like I'm able to push as hard. It's really just that inflammation. Once you sort of come onto the other side of foregoing carbs and you start getting those incredible benefits of foregoing carbs, you don't really even realize them at first until you go back and you realize, damn, this is how much eating carbohydrates was inflaming my body. And it's really nice when you don't eat carbs to not feel like crap, but when you eat carbs again, you just realize that, oh my god, I've been so inflamed this whole time. I've just been living like this as my normal. And that's why a lot of people feel tired and sick on a day-to-day basis. So that was point 2. Eating carbs is just inflammatory, and your body is not going to be able to build muscle at its best when it's inflamed. Now on to point 3, which is that carbs are just fattening. Yet again, this fattening nature of carbohydrates has a lot to do with insulin levels and blood glucose. Again, as I said many times before, when you eat carbs, your blood glucose spikes, and as a result, alongside it, your insulin levels also spike to try and curb that blood glucose increase. So as it pertains to blood glucose, your body first tries to send as much of the glucose from the blood to your liver. Your liver can only hold so much, and it's not that much. So the rest of the glucose, your body tries to send it to the muscles. The muscles also cannot hold that much. So what the body is then forced to do is any of that excess glucose, which is going to be most of it because the liver and muscles can't hold that much, it stores it as fat. Now, as it pertains to insulin, I think I mentioned earlier that insulin is a very sensitive hormone. You see, insulin has a lot of necessary functions in the body, but it likes to be at a very stable level. But when you eat carbs, again, you're going to be constantly spiking your insulin levels, and insulin in excess becomes a fat storing hormone. So when you're insulin resistant and you're eating a bunch of carbs consistently, a high carb diet, you're going to be spiking those insulin levels, which again will make you disproportionately store fat in your body. Not only do both of these carbohydrate related phenomena of fat gain make you gain more fat, they make you gain more fat specifically around your organs, which is called visceral fat. Not only is this more sort of unattractive, but it's also more dangerous for your health. You know, subcutaneous fat, which is the fat sort of beneath your skin and the muscle, is not detrimental really. But visceral fat, the fat around your organs, is very detrimental. Fatty liver disease in prior years always used to be thought of something that only happened to alcoholics, right? But nowadays we've started getting what's called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. It's the same thing, but it's happening to people who don't drink alcohol, which was very surprising to a lot of doctors at first. And it's happening because a lot more people are eating just a lot more sugar and carbs and junk, which is causing a disproportionate amount of fat gain in their organs, which is again causing the fatty liver disease. And even beyond, like, you might not get to the point of fatty liver disease straight away, but eating a lot of carbs is also what causes the sort of skinny fat look, where you're not very fat overall, like you don't have a humongously like fat face or very fat like arms or something like that, but you still have a bit of a belly because you're eating just a high carb diet, which is disproportionately packing on fat around your organs and around your stomach, which makes you kind of look, again, it gives you that skinny fat look. So if you want to avoid that skinny fat look, don't eat as many carbs. And now from a muscle and physique point of view, obviously you want to avoid carbohydrates if they're fattening up your stomach. I think all of us, basically, our idea of our dream physique doesn't involve one where we have a big protruding belly because we eat a bunch of carbs. No, we probably want to be lean to the point where we have like visible abs, or even if you don't want visible abs, you still want to at least be like lean and kind of have a flat stomach. Again, not one where it's protruding out. So if you want to achieve that goal, you want to avoid carbohydrates because, again, like I said, carbs are going to fatten you up, especially fatten up your stomach. So what is the remedy? The remedy really just is as simple as foregoing carbs. Carbs are not essential in any way. There are essential proteins you need to eat, there are essential fats you need to eat, but there's no such thing as any kind of essential carbohydrates. I advise that you go on something that's called a ketogenic diet. It's one where you only eat proteins and fats. Again, like I said, there's no such thing as essential carbs, and there's no reason for you to eat them. So when you're on a keto diet, you'll eventually become what's called fat adapted, and since you'll be avoiding carbs, you'll be avoiding all the detrimental effects of carbs that I talked about in this video. All the while, you'll have the most stable source of energy, which is the dietary fats you'll be consuming and the fat on your body to build more muscle and do it faster. Say goodbye to the yo-yoing energy levels, say goodbye to the inflammation, and say goodbye to the unnecessary fat gain on your body. As I said in my intro, I made this change a few months ago, and it was the best decision I could have ever made for building muscle and my physique overall. Since I've started eating this way, I've built muscle faster than I ever have before, and I've done it while losing fat, something that is traditionally seen of as not possible, especially for someone who's been lifting for as long as I have. But I've managed to do it, and it's all because I haven't been eating carbs. And if I can do it, I know that you can do it too. I'm not special. I just did my research and I found out that these things are eating carbs like that is not good for you, and it's for these reasons that I laid out. And now you have the knowledge as well. Knowledge is power. You have the power now to alter your diet, and you can get all the same benefits that I'm getting. Anyways, that pretty much wraps up this video. If you found this video interesting or informative, I would suggest visiting the link in my description. There you can find my ebook, which elaborates on this very topic, as well as many others relating to training, diet, and health. If you use the coupon code on screen, first5, you can get it for just $5, but there's only one of these coupons in existence, so you might have to act fast. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye.